Hi. So find your seat, however you like, and let's get into it. Take a moment to settle into your posture. You might move your spine around until you find that point of effortless balance. It doesn't have to be the same configuration as it was yesterday, and there is no perfect posture to aim for, not really, but we are going for relaxed and alert. You might take a couple of purposeful, deep breaths with a full inhale, pausing momentarily at the top, and let it out with a long, complete exhale. In this practice, we are going to begin looking at our subjective internal experience by tracking the arising and vanishing of the various appearances in our awareness through the different modalities of sensory input, specifically the seeing of mental imagery, the hearing of mental talk or thoughts, and the feeling of emotional body sensations. If you got here by way of working through a series or through a training cycle, then all of these will be familiar to you. If you just got here out of nowhere, don't worry. We will work through each component in turn until we bring them all together. But before we start, you might take a couple of minutes to tune up your attention. See if you can follow your breath from the moment it arises in your awareness, all the way through its cycle of inhale and exhale until the very instant it vanishes into nothingness. Your mind will wander. There will be thinking. And whenever you find yourself distracted by thought, without getting entangled in the content of those thoughts, simply note that and return gently to the task of following your breath. If you find yourself distracted by sights or sounds or sensations, simply note those as seeings and hearings and feelings, and gently return to the task of following your breath. Take a little time to do this. You can work today with eyes open or closed. Eyes closed tends to be easier, but eyes open applies more directly to doing this in everyday life as you go about the business of living. And let's begin by attending to the space of seeing, paying special attention to the arising, movement, and vanishing of mental imagery. It might help to make this clearer if you bring to your mind's eye a mental image of an orange. The resulting image might not be the best orange you have ever seen. It might not be particularly vivid or crisp or clear, or it might be. There may be more than one orange there. It may be hazy and moving around and rather unstable. There may be other fruit there, maybe other people or other unrelated things. The emerging content doesn't really matter. What matters is that there are images there being seen, and seeing being known. For the next minute or so, whenever you notice that you are seeing mental images, or that your attention has moved onto a new mental image, you're going to note this and label it as seeing. And when you find yourself distracted by mental talk or sensations, simply return as gently as you can to attending to your space of seeing and track the movement of your mental images. Remember, we are not particularly interested in the actual content of mental imagery, but in the experience of seeing itself. Good. Now take a little break and see if you can follow a single breath from the moment it arises in your awareness, all the way through its changing life cycle until the very moment it vanishes. And when you are ready, attend to your space of hearing, keeping your attention inside your head and at your ears so that you might catch the arising of any mental talk or thinking. And when such mental talk or thinking arises, simply note that and label it as hearing. We are not particularly interested in the content of the thinking or our opinions about the quality and the veracity of those thoughts. And if you find yourself entangled in this, gently pull back and return to the task at hand, which is to simply note the arising of any mental talk, regardless of what it is about. See if you can spot the next thought the moment it arises in your awareness. Now take a little break and reset. See if you can follow a breath from the moment it arises in your awareness, all the way through its changing life cycle, through to the point it vanishes into nothing. And when you are ready, attend to the space of feeling, paying particular attention to emotional body sensations. At any given time, there may be a range of emotional experience of different intensity going on. There may be very intense emotions, mild emotional experience, very little or no emotional experience at all. All of this emotional experience will be carrying with it a physical body sensation. From the subjective point of view, emotions are made of a physical sensation intertwined with mental imagery and mental talk. It is these body sensations that we are attending to here. These emotional body sensations could be very clear and specific, such as a tension in your belly or your diaphragm or constriction in your throat. Or they may be very vague and dispersed and spread out across the body. It doesn't really matter. It also doesn't matter for our purposes what the associated emotions happen to be, whether it is anger or happiness or sadness or joy or boredom or motivation. What matters is that there are physical sensations going on that are different from external physical sensations such as an itch or the feeling of the cloths of your clothes against your skin. Attend to these, and each time you notice an emotional body sensation or your attention moves onto a new one, note this and label it feeling. Let's take a little break and see if you can follow a breath from the moment it arises in your awareness, all the way through its changing life cycle until the very instant it vanishes from your experience. And when you are ready, bring these three different modalities of sensory flow together and begin to attend to your subjective internal experience by tracking the flow of these different modalities of sensory input, of mental images, of mental talk, and of emotional body sensation. And each time you notice that your attention has landed on mental imagery, note it and label it seeing. Each time you notice that your attention has landed on mental talk or thinking, simply note it and label it hearing, without becoming intertwined with the content of the thinking. And each time you notice that your attention is preoccupied with physical body sensations of the emotional type, simply note it and label it feeling, without getting distracted by trying to work out what the associated emotion is. Do this for a couple of minutes. All of your internal subjective experiences or internal states, positive or negative, are made of some combination of seeing mental imagery, hearing mental talk, and feeling emotional body sensations. All of your feelings and emotions are made of some combination of mental imagery, mental talk, and emotional body sensations. Every memory you have ever had and ever will have is made of some combination of mental imagery, thoughts, and emotional body sensations. Every urge, every drive, every want, every goal and aspiration, every moment of motivation, all of your unconscious conditioning and even trauma show up as some combination of mental imagery, mental talk, and emotional body sensation. Keep going. Attend to your internal experience by tracking the arising and changing of the different sensory modalities of seeing, hearing, and feeling. Mental images, mental talk, and emotional body sensations. At some point in this process, you are likely to find yourself faced with too many things to note and label. Too many seeings, too many hearings, too many feelings. And this makes sense. After all, as long as you are aware and awake and you have the faculties of seeing mental images, hearing mental talk, and feeling emotional body sensations, these spaces are going to be full of whatever there is being seen, whatever there is being heard, and whatever there is being felt. Now, not all three of these spaces will be active at all times, but mostly they will. And as you go about the job of noting and labeling one of them at any one time, things may become overwhelming. Here, it is important to learn to work to a rhythm or a pace. You could use your breath as a metronome of sorts, perhaps doing one noting at the top of every inhale and maybe one at the end of each exhale. You can work out whatever pace works for you, but learning to work to a rhythm helps a great deal to reduce this feeling of overwhelm and the frantic attempts at trying to note and label everything. You will never be able to. And actually, a great deal of this practice and a great deal of its power rests in learning to let most of the appearances in your awareness go, focusing on one at a time. One thing at a time. If you find yourself bored or anxious or frustrated or uncomfortable even, remember, this too is made of some combination of seeing mental imagery, hearing mental talk, and feeling emotional body sensations. See if you can look at it as such and see these experiences for what they are, completely. Where in your body do you feel boredom? Are there thoughts that make up the experience of anxiety? Is there mental imagery that makes up the experience of frustration? Keep going. If at any point you find that two or three of these different domains are active, simply choose one to note and label. It doesn't matter which one, and it doesn't matter if the choice is spontaneous or directed by you. Simply follow your attention as it moves freely across the three different modalities of sensory input: seeing of mental imagery, hearing of mental talk, and feeling of emotional body sensations. In doing this practice regularly and intensely, we are learning to see our experience as it is and to experience it fully without shortcuts or interference. This is quite important because most things, when seen clearly and experienced fully, are able to take their natural shape and move freely through their natural flow of arising, changing, fading away, and vanishing. And usually, it is our messing around with our experience, trying to fix it or change it or improve it, avoid the experiences we don't like and try to make the ones we like linger, that leads to a sort of a congealment or a entanglement among the different avenues of sensory flow that gives some experience a sense of weight and solidity, and we find ourselves overwhelmed. learning to see things as they are, especially the negative experiences, the pains and limiting beliefs and judgments and urges and triggered disturbances, is the first step towards learning to be uncomfortable skillfully. And as a sort of a proximal pragmatic benefit, learning to break down our negative experiences and negative states into their constituent parts of mental imagery, mental talk, and emotional body sensation reveals their hollowness and transience and makes them more manageable and less overwhelming, quite immediately so. And at the very least, focusing on one of these constituent parts, one of these components, a mental image component, a mental talk component, or a body sensation component, prevents us from becoming overwhelmed by these states. Spend a few more minutes attending to your internal experience by tracking the arising, changing, and vanishing of appearances in these different domains of sensory input, of mental imagery, mental talk, and emotional body sensations. It may be a very good idea to do this practice a number of times. It may be a very good idea also to make a version of this your own and do it regularly. And it may be a particularly good idea to remember several times throughout the day to pause and attend to your internal experience by tracking the mental imagery, mental talk, and the emotional body sensations that make it. Quality repetitions are really necessary for us to be able to apply this training when we really need it, which isn't sitting comfortably on the cushion with all the space and time to do this. It's often when we don't have the space or the time and the pressure of living is possibly quite high. And when you're ready, if your eyes are closed, gently open them, move around a little bit, and go about your day.